Hi, and welcome to episode 38 of the papercraneyarns knitting podcast. My name is Ashley, and I own a yarn store and yarn dyeing business called papercraneyarns. And that's where I'm coming to you from today is my store, which is located in Central Alabama, USA. It is Tuesday, June 4th of 2024, and it's the end of my work day. So the store is technically still open right now, but things have been winding down today. So I thought I would just go ahead and get started with recording. I have so many things to show you. As is always my goal, I would like to keep this video shorter than I normally do. So my last video was 2 hours long. Let's see if I can get this one down to under an hour. That's my goal. But I do have 9 or 10, I think 10 finished objects to show you. So as I said, this is my knitting podcast, but I also sew, I crochet, I spin, and I cross stitch. So I'm also going to consider this like a mini floss tube. I still haven't decided if I want to do a separate floss tube in the future, but for now I'm combining everything. So I'll have announcements for each segment, and so if you want to skip over something, you're welcome to do so, but hopefully you'll be intrigued by all of what I've been up to recently. All this crafting is from the past few weeks. And so as a quick reminder, Gabriella from Merriweather Living and myself, we are hosting a year-long botanical themed Makealong that started in May. So we're a couple of weeks in. Is that right? We started in May? Yeah. Anyway, we're a couple of weeks in, and this is a year-long Makealong. So any projects that are in some way botanically inspired are welcome to, you're welcome to participate with those projects. So that could be knitting, cross stitch, sewing, painting, natural dyeing, whatever your heart desires, as long as it's botanically themed. I hope that you will join us sometime in the next year. You can make as few or as many projects as you'd like. You can share those projects on Instagram with the hashtag Botanical Makealong. And it would also help if you tagged Gabriella's account, which is Merriweather Living, and my account, which is papercraneyarns. That way we can make sure we don't miss any of your projects. In fact, before I sat down to record, I meant to look through the hashtag to see if there's anything I haven't seen yet. So make sure you use that hashtag. Again, tag our accounts. We also have a Discord group specifically for the Botanical Makealong that Gabriella put together. If you would like to join that Discord and you haven't done so already, you can send me a message and I am happy to send you an invitation link. A couple of you have messaged me for the link before, so I'm happy to send that to you. So 2 other very quick announcements about places you can find papercraneyarns in the coming months. This Saturday, actually June 8th, is Worldwide Knit in Public Day. And so, as is tradition for us, we will be having a little pop-up shop at the Hoover Public Library. So if you're local and you're watching this, I hope you can make it out to Worldwide Knit in Public Day. The Hoover Library hosts it. Shannon, the organizer, does a fantastic job every year of making it a super place to be. So there will be lots of people to knit with. There's a couple of vendors this year. So last year there were just 2 of us, I think, but this year we'll have 4 vendors. So we'll have Maddie of Sherwood Fiber Arts. I love their yarns and fibers. We'll have Brick House Needle Arts, I think is what they are called, but they make their own knitting needles. Really cool. I'm excited to see them in person. I've heard about them for years. And then Coosa Valley Clay, who they were there 2 years ago. They make all kinds of knitwear and like knit stitch inspired pottery that I just love, and they do yarn bowls and all that. And then of course I'll be there too. So I hope you can make it out June 8th at the Hoover Public Library. And then my other exciting announcement is I'm going to be a vendor at SAF, which is the Southeastern Animal Fiber Fair, and that will be in October, the third weekend in October, I think. That's in the Asheville, North Carolina area. So yeah, this will be maybe the farthest we've traveled to vend, I think. So I'm super excited to be a vendor at SAF. That's like a dream come true. So I hope I'll get to see more of you there, since I will be, yeah, traveling. And anyway, and then we'll of course have the inaugural Alabama Fiber Festival in November. That is November 2nd. It's on a Saturday, and I'll be a vendor at that event. So there you go. Okay, without further ado, let's get into my projects. So I'm going to start with my many finished objects. The first one I have to share is what I'm wearing. I'll make sure to insert some footage and pictures so you can see the way I've styled it today, because I think this does not do it justice. This is a beautiful garment. So what I'm wearing is called the Primrose Slipover, and the designer is Avec, and I've got the pattern on Ravelry. It's a gorgeous pattern. I used yarns from Long Dog Yarn, Brandy. These were from Brandy's The Princess Bride colorway collection. So I got these a few months ago, and the colorway that I used is Rest Well and Dream of Large Women, which is fantastic. I love this color recently. I just am so into these milky blue, almost green tinted colors. I just think it's gorgeous. So I held the merino sock. So this is just a sock yarn, double with the lace mohair. And this is everything I have left over. So I have a good bit of yarn left. Of course, with this being a slipover and no sleeves, it did not take a lot of yarn. So I need to figure out something cute to make with my leftovers. I love to use my leftovers in different projects, so I've got to get creative here, because this is a lot of yarn. So I knit the size 3 in this pattern. I wanted a good amount of width to it. Let me stand up and show you, and then we'll talk about the sizing. Aren't those bow ties just so precious? So as I was saying, I knit the size 3 because I wanted a little bit more positive ease in the width of this garment. So I'm sure you could kind of see the ease that I achieved with this garment, and I think it's just perfect. I wanted something that was a little bit short, like a bit cropped, and just oversized enough that I could really wear it with anything. And so today I'm wearing it with a blouse, but I think it's going to be really pretty over dresses. And the bow ties are strips of double knitting, and so you can adjust those, make them looser or tighter. So I could get more of a tunic size garment if I tie them a little bit tightly, and maybe I can use that to pair with a really flowy skirt and sort of provide a little bit more of a tapered silhouette with that kind of outfit. Or I can leave them loose over a big blouse. Today I kind of have it styled in between, so I just think it's perfect. I'm really excited about this knit. My focus this year has been to really be considerate of items that I want in my wardrobe if I'm going to take the time to knit the garments. So last year I spent a lot of time making really fun projects that a lot of them I wear all the time, but some of them I don't wear very often because I was more interested in the process. So my point being, at this point, I have a lot of garments in my wardrobe, and I have been wanting to focus on things that I will wear again and again. And so you'll see a theme with the other projects that I'm going to share today. So yeah, I think that this one worked out really well. I will say it wasn't my favorite thing to knit because it's so simple. It was a little bit boring, but you know, it's good to have that easy knitting. So I was able to just pick it up and work on it. It's just stockinette back and forth. Of course, the pieces are knit flat. So A lot of knitting and purling, very, very simple construction, totally beginner-friendly pattern. There was just a little bit of shaping up at the shoulders, and there's a little bit of double knitting, as I mentioned, with the ties, which I think makes them so nice and substantial. And then a folded over collar, but again, all pretty basic things. So yeah, I'm happy to have this one done, and now I can enjoy it in my wardrobe. So the next finished object I will share with you is my Bifurca vest. This is a pattern by Teti Lutsak, or Teti's Knit Garden. And this was actually a finished object the last time I recorded, but I failed to bring it with me when I recorded, so I didn't get to share it. You may have seen some pictures of it, but I have it here in person to show you now, so we can talk about it a little bit. So yeah, this is my Bifurca vest. I'm going to do my very best not to hit the microphone, but I do apologize if there's any kind of muffling. I try, but you know, it can be hard. So this is my Bifurca vest. I think it is so beautiful. It's pink and brown and very woolly, just lovely. I really had a fun time knitting this one. This one has very unique construction. So there was so much to do with this pattern. You were always kind of changing what you were doing, so you never really got into a lull, because it was something always, there was always something interesting. So as with the Primrose, I knit the size 3 for this one, and that's the only thing that I regret about my knitting for this. I should have knit size 2 or size 1. So unfortunately, this is quite big on me, and you can see here where the armholes are really, really huge. I even modified the needle size a little bit to make the armhole a bit smaller. It was much bigger before I added the ribbing, and it would have been even bigger had I not gone down further in my needle size as I did. So I should have really made size 1 or 2. And reading through Ravelry projects, I think there was a lot of agreement that once you hit size 3 or above, the armhole became really big in the design. So if you plan on making one of these, you may want to keep that in mind and modify your armhole a little bit to make it tighter. Like for example, if I could go back and do it again, and I could, but I won't, I would go down even more in needle sizes. And I don't remember if we picked up stitches. Oh no, we didn't pick up stitches because of the type of construction. It's been a while since I knit this now. But anyway, I would make some changes to make the armhole smaller. It's also quite wide, and it is meant to be quite wide. So it's supposed to come off the shoulders a little bit, or sort of be placed a bit on the shoulders. And you can definitely see in the styling videos how this, in the styling pictures from Teti, how she does it and how pretty it is. But again, I maybe should have gone down another needle size for my ribbing around the neck, just to bring it all in a little bit. Regardless, I do still think it's absolutely beautiful. I've gotten to wear it a few times before it really warmed up. And yeah, the color work is stunning. I used a non-superwash wool. This is a sport weight wool. This was wool that I got at Rhinebeck last year. It's non-superwash. It's 100% Maine wool. It's Nash Tide. Nash Tide is the type of yarn that it is. And the brown is the Peat, P-E-A-T colorway, and the pink is Anemone. So yeah, it's so pretty. Something else to note for size 3, you see these two little sort of 1x1 color work sections in this strip of garter. For sizes 1 and 2, you only have 2 of these, and sizes 3 and above have additional rows of the color work and the garter. And so again, if I had knit maybe size 2 to get a better fit for me, I think even just eliminating that much fabric would have made all the difference to getting a better fit for myself. So yeah, I have the yarn to make a second one. I'm fully intending to. I can't wait to make this again, actually. It was really fun. So I will be probably doing size 2 and changing my needle sizes a little bit as well. But yeah, that's my Bifurca. So beautiful. So the next little pile of knits that I have to show you are kind of meant to all go together. So as I was saying, I'm really focusing my attention on making things that are effective in my wardrobe. So with this pattern, I had a really clear sort of color story and outfit in mind when I was coming up with these knits. So this all started with a test knit, another Teti Lutsak. This pattern will be out in just a couple of weeks, a week or two. So stunning. I am so glad I got to knit it. And then, so everything else kind of came from this project. So this pattern is called the Helica Pullover, and I will show it to you in a moment. But I was just so excited when I picked my colors, this sort of light pink and then the stark black contrast. When I picked these colors and I saw the colorwork motif, I really got this impression of sort of like a Parisian cafe. And so the accessories that I made to go with the pullover are really, really drawing from that inspiration. And I have not yet tried everything on together. I haven't even tried on the pullover since it's been fully finished with the little details, the embroidery. I'm really excited in a moment to go and change and show you everything all at once. I hope that the effect is what I'm hoping for. So yeah, I'm going to talk very quickly about each item, the pattern and the designer and the yarn, and then I will put it all on. So here is the stunning Helica Pullover. I think it's just gorgeous. I was smitten as soon as I saw the email that was the tester call. When I saw her sample, just totally smitten. And I don't know, it's just beautiful. So her sort of design inspiration was that she received some kind of note from she received some kind of feedback that she never designed colorwork that has the botanical motif growing up the yoke. They're always growing down the yoke. So she decided to create a pattern with these vines that were growing up the yoke. And I just thought that was so cute. And then this strip here is actually sort of embroidered in with a crochet hook. And so you can see on the inside, I have these little tassels where I've knotted off each strip of the yarn that I crocheted into the fabric. And that's an optional detail, but without it, you just get this beautiful pattern. And I think it is gorgeous, but I think that this is a necessary, I think this is just so intrinsic to this design. So if you knit this, I hope that you'll take the time to do these. They were a little bit time consuming, but they were very easy. And she has linked in the pattern a video tutorial of how she did them. So very straightforward, very simple. So I hope you'll consider knitting this and adding that detail as well. Okay, so, oh, and didn't show you these little details, but there's a bit of a long 2x2 rib for the hem and the cuff. And I think the fit of this is just lovely. This is size 2 of the pattern, and I achieved gauge, so it should be right on target with the sizing. I'm just so thrilled with this one. I'm looking forward to the cold days so I can wear this whole outfit. So then next came my party line scarf. This is a pattern by Kaci. I think her last name is Apple, Kaci Apple of Young Folk Knits. This was her first ever pattern that she released, and she released it during the time that I was actually knitting this. And I had this red yarn. So all these yarns are from Makealong yarns, Makealong fibers. They are the Tibetan Cloud, which is a DK weight Tibetan wool. Very beautiful yarn. The pink color is Rose Cloud, and the black is Black Petunia. I believe the red was Tulipano. Just gorgeous. So when I was ordering the yarns to make this version, I was sort of curious about how this detail would look, the color work in red instead of black. But when I got the yarns in person, I definitely knew that black was the right answer. So then I thought I would knit a red accessory because these colors look gorgeous together. So then the party line scarf came out and I whipped one up. It just so happened to be a sport weight design. I thought it was really pretty. It's just, it's a little bit unique. It has the eyelets and the garter. It was just gorgeous. Just totally gorgeous. So it all worked out really well, and I'm happy that I made it. I still have a ton of this red yarn left over, and I have plans for that to further this outfit. So that's my party line scarf. I plan on wearing this as a neck scarf with my pullover. So if you happen to knit this pattern, I modified it slightly in the sense that I did not do quite as many repeats, I think, of the whole design. I didn't test my gauge for this. I think that I probably had, more rows per inch than she did for my row gauge. So mine was already getting quite long. So I think I just lopped off a few of the repeats, and I just kept trying it on as I went, and I figured that this was a good length. I've already worn it quite a few times, so yeah, I think it turned out great. And finally, I didn't want all this black yarn to go to waste. For the size that I knit of the pullover, and I think for really all of the sizes, you don't use a whole lot of this contrast color. This is such a beautiful yarn, so again, I didn't want it to just sit in my stash. So I decided to dye up just a black mohair to pair with it, and I made a beret. See the design image kind of coming to light here? So I've got this gorgeous black beret, and for this, I held one strand of the DK weight, the Tibetan cloud, with 2 strands of the mohair. You may recall I have a second one of these berets here. This was my first one. This pattern is called Today Beret by Isabella Clark. I was a pattern tester for this one. That pattern has since come out. So anyway, I decided to make a second one. And what's so interesting is the first one that I made the medium size. And I liked it. I like it a lot, but I wanted to kind of make a slightly smaller one. So for this one, I made the smaller size, but because of the gauge, it's actually almost identical in circumference to the medium that I already knit. So it's about the same size, but I wanted to make the smaller one because I needed the brim to be a little bit smaller. And so I do think that I achieved that since there weren't as many stitches cast on. I wanted it to be a little bit smaller because the other one, since the hat is a bit heavy, it's stretched out a little bit, not unwearably so, but to the point where I'm having to adjust it a lot. So I wanted to make this one smaller, and yeah, that's what happened. And then I, of course, made a little pom-pom to go on there. And it's so pretty. This one has a nice stiffness to it. You can see where I blocked it, and then it's holding its shape. So this one is like a picture perfect beret. And it's all brioche stitch. I didn't mention that. So it's a very easy, beginner-friendly brioche pattern. It's single color brioche. So I would say this is a great one if you want to try brioche. Okay, so yeah, now you have the whole kind of mental image of this outfit. I am going to pause for a minute and go change. Although first, I am curious how this beret looks with this slipover. Okay, this totally works too. So I'm feeling good about this. This whole idea of really only making things that will work for my wardrobe. Too cute. Okay, now I shall change. So I think the sweater is completely adorable. Oh, this is so nice to try this on. And I have to say that the Makealong Tibetan Cloud is some of the softest, most wonderful yarn I've ever used and have ever worn. So I'm just totally in love with this. Okay, I haven't put on the other accessories yet because I kind of wanted a look at just the sweater before I had on the scarf and all of it. But yeah, the only thing I'm noticing, and I was wondering about this, I was kind of concerned with the embroidery here, that it would add some bulkiness underneath the sweater, and I can tell that it is creating bulkiness. So I think what I'm going to have to do is go in again with my crochet hook and just pull and tighten absolutely every single one and see if I can, or maybe I even need to reblock it a little bit. Yeah, I think a little bit of a reblock and just kind of going in and adjusting those slightly will help to reduce that bulk. So I need to take the time to do that. But otherwise, I think it's perfect. Okay, let's do the accessories. So there we go. That's the whole outfit. I just think it's so cute. So all in all, I'm really happy that I took the time to make all of these pieces to go together. I have some ideas for a few additional pieces I want to add to this ensemble. I'm also wearing pants and shoes that I had picked out specifically for this outfit. So yeah, it's fun to see it all come together. So that's the finished look. I'm really happy with it. I think it's so beautiful. It's exactly what I pictured. It's so fun to see it all come together. And I also have a couple of other things I'm planning on making. So I'm going to take the red and the pink that are left over, and I want to make some fingerless mittens that have vertical stripes of the pink and red. I think that will add, again, to that sort of Parisian French cafe sort of inspiration. And I would also like to, well, that's where I'll start. We'll see how it goes from there. But I think that would be a really cute addition to have even more stripes here. I'm wearing black and white striped pants right now. I'm going to take a picture and insert it so you can see the whole outfit that I was dreaming up, and here it is. But yeah, so that's everything for now. I think it came out really cute. The scarf has other applications as well. Like I have this little black and white gingham dress that I thrifted, and it looks really cute as a neck scarf with that. I would like to tie it in my hair at some point. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to take all this off because it's quite warm, but there we go. So moving right along, I have another knitted finished object to share with you. This one, I am just, again, smitten with this. Everything I've brought to show you today, I just love everything, which tells me that I've been really mindful of investing my time into projects that are really making me happy and projects that I know I will like the finished object. So I've been really happy with what I've been making recently. But this one is a shawl. This is called the Patchwork M-Cowl. It's no longer an M-Cowl, but so I guess maybe it's Patchwork or Patchwork Shawl now. But this is a design by Alicia Plummer. And again, this was a mystery knit along. So we cast on a few months ago, and we were receiving clues every Tuesday over the course of many weeks. I think there were 13 or 14 clues all in all. So it was a nice sort of slow burn project. I kept up with it for a while and then I didn't. But then I ended up finishing it pretty quickly once I kind of got going with it near the end, because I was enjoying the process of knitting this one so much that I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. And so I just wanted to keep going. I'm going to stand up and kind of show you the whole thing. And again, I'll be sure to insert some photos of kind of the way that it looks wrapped around my neck and It's kind of hard to do that with the microphone, but it's just a beautiful giant triangular shawl. It's all garter stitch. So this was a really nice, easy knit, but it held my interest because it's all modular. So again, even though we were doing things like knitting garter squares, which is, or, half square triangles, it's just knit stitch back and forth. It didn't get boring because, we would get so far, and by the time I was like, okay, I want a new color or something new to do, it would be time to cast off and pick up stitches for one of the edges and go in a different direction or with a new color. And so it was just always something new and interesting. This is very log cabin inspired, so you can see the border of the shawl. It's all like little log cabin, half square triangle sort of motifs. So yeah, it's all like log cabin kind of inspired and patchwork quilt inspired. So you can see sort of the log cabin sort of strips along the border, and then we've got these half square triangle borders. How many times can I say the word border? But I just am really happy with this project. I love my colorway choices. I love the yarn that I knit this with. This is Cascade 220 in the sport weight non-superwash base. So it's nice and very woolly. So it's got a beautiful squish to it. When I blocked this, I've been burned before blocking garter stitch. The nice thing about garter stitch is you can really get a lot of stretch when you want it. Of course, this is non-superwash, so it didn't stretch quite as much, but I really didn't want it to stretch at all because I've been burned before. Garter stitch can block out really well if you need it to, but then you kind of lose all the squishiness. You get a lot of like gaps between each of the rows. There's a lot more, it looks like this. And so then you lose that bounce of the garter squish. So my tip would be to not block this out except for maybe, on the edges and the points, just to make sure that it's all very angular. And that's all that I did. I used very few blocking pins to just kind of set this wool. But I think it just turned out beautifully. I'm really happy with this one. So there were 4 different colorways. I'll have them all, they're all linked in my project page on Ravelry. But yeah, it's just beautiful. So this will definitely be one of the warmest shawls I've ever made. And it's just the perfect width that it wraps around you nice and snug, and it doesn't feel like it's pulling off of your shoulders. Sometimes when I knit shawls, I feel like they're either too long or not long enough so that you can't really get it to wrap and stay there. This one stays with no effort. So yeah, 10 out of 10. She did a beautiful job on this pattern. I'm so happy that I decided to do this MCAL. So I think we've come to the end of all of my knitted FOs. So I'm going to show you the other crafts that I have to share with you that I've recently finished, starting with 2 sewing FOs. And they're both little dresses for my sweet daughter. I finished them a couple weeks ago, and they were perfectly ironed, and now they're not. So I should have probably ironed them before I started recording, but regardless. These are 2 identical projects with different fabrics and different levels of competency. So this pattern is called the Flutter Pinafore by Omio My Sewing. They make really beautiful little child garment sewing patterns, and I've actually had my eye on this particular pattern for a couple of years now. So when I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter, I of course was looking for baby patterns of sewing and knitting, and I just hadn't gotten around to sewing anything. And this one had always been in the back of my mind. And then I was watching Tiny Human Knits. I love absolutely everything that she makes. I feel like she's so just so inspirational with her projects. But in one of her more recent videos, she had shown one of these that she made and this little sweater that she knit to go with it. And I was sold that morning while the video was still playing. I finally just bought the pattern, and I'm so happy that I did because it is so beautiful. Okay, we'll talk about the first one I made briefly, and then I'll show you the second one. So for the first time ever, I had a sewing pattern printed for me. So instead of having to print out instead of having to have lots of little printer-sized sheets of paper that you tape together, and you have to match up all the lines and all of that. You know what I'm talking about probably if you've sewn from an online pattern before. I decided to send the pattern off to be printed for me. And I'm so happy that I did, because that made the process just even that much sweeter. It took away some of that sort of annoyingness and let me sort of just really enjoy the sewing process. So I actually sent away to Bolt Fabric. Well, it's a fabric store. I think they're in Oregon, and it's called Bolt Fabric, I believe. They had the best pricing for pattern printing. I think they only charged me $2.50 for the pattern, and other websites that I was coming across was, like $20 for it. So a lot of the websites that you can send away to, having the pattern printed itself is only a couple dollars usually, but they typically have a minimum, which I get why you would do that. They have a minimum, and if you don't reach that minimum, they charge you a fee. So since I was only getting one pattern printed, I really kind of did my research and found that this fabric store offers it for like $2.50. So I decided to buy both of the fabrics at the same time, and it all arrived very quickly. I will definitely be shopping from them for all of my garment fabric in the future, and any pattern printing I might need. They were amazing. So this is I think this was a Robert Kaufman cotton, and it has a very subtle, almost like it's like this, the weave has this yellow sheen to it almost. It's really pretty. But this one I made a sort of a wearable muslin, and you can kind of see definitely where there are some sort of mistakes in here. I hadn't sewn a garment pattern in a couple of years, and I've never done it well before. But anyway, this one turned out super cute. So this was the first one that I made, and I made the 3-year-old size so that my daughter can have this, or it's like 2 to 3-year-old size or 2-year-old size. I don't know. It's for my daughter to have in the fall, and she turns 2 next month. So I've tried it on her, and right now it's just the perfect amount of ease to where I know that in a few months it's going to fit her perfectly. So everything turned out great. But yeah, so this is sort of the wearable muslin. It's super cute. I did make a mistake because I didn't understand when I got to the last step where you insert the elastic for the waistband. I didn't understand what it was saying, even though they were amazing to like picture tutorials. It just kind of went over my head, and I tried it and I did it wrong. But then when I made the second one, which this one's my favorite, when I made the second one, it clicked. And so I did it all correctly. And I just think this one is super precious. I'll try to link this fabric below because I think it's beautiful. It's actually sort of embroidered. I'm trying to capture the depth of it there so you can kind of see, but this one is a nice heavier weight. The other one is a very lightweight kind of cotton. This is definitely more of a garment fabric. It has a beautiful, more heavyweight quality to it. I didn't show you the backs on either of these. It's just these two crossing straps. The ruffle detail on the strap is an optional detail for the pattern. But of course, I was going to add it, and it was actually the most fun part of the sewing was adding in these ruffles. So yeah, I love this so much, and I'm definitely planning on knitting some little sweaters that she can wear under here. And yeah, not much else I can say, but they're super precious, and the pattern has all kinds of children's sizes. So as she gets bigger, I will definitely be making more of these, and I look forward to it. So now I have 2 cross-stitch finished objects to show you, and then we'll move on to works in progress. So the first one I'll show is this beautiful piece that you've been maybe seeing sitting right behind me. This is the Botanical Study #1, which is a design by Barbie Tingley of Pedal Pusher Designs, and my friend Sarah of Handmade by Sarah W. here on YouTube and Instagram. We hosted a stitch along together for this pattern, and I finished mine a couple of weeks ago now, and I just absolutely love it. It's been sitting here in my shop on the back of the couch. I was planning on hanging this in my home, but I actually think it fits in so nicely here, so I'm sort of conflicted on whether or not I want to display it in my home or here at the shop. We'll see. But I just think it's so, so beautiful. I stitched this on 16 count Aida. It's a picture this plus Aida. It's like a really deep navy, almost black kind of color. I think it's called Dusk, but I could be wrong. And then I used the called for fancy flosses from Weeks Dye Works in combination with some DMC. So like the green and the blue. This is Grasshopper. This is Kentucky Bluegrass. I used Bullfrog, which is the deeper greens that you see here. And then there's also Seafoam, which I used up here, I think. Is that where I used it? Oh, the Seafoam are these little flowers. And then the mustardy yellow. Oh, actually, I did use Curry. Anyway, it's a combination of Fancy Floss and DMC. But I think it turned out so beautifully. I actually, and I talked about this last time, but I did make a mistake when I was stitching it. And these little flowers are lower than they're supposed to be by a few rows, I guess you could say. So what I decided to do was, instead of frogging them and moving them up, I decided to utilize this space to add in kind of an element, I think, of a botanical study or any kind of biological study. So it's supposed to look like a handwritten note, figure 1. And I was kind of thinking it would be like a biology textbook or a field notebook. I do bird watching, and I've kept a field notebook before. And, you know, you would use these little kinds of captions, I guess, to add to your drawing or whatever. So I thought that it fit perfectly, and yeah, I just freehanded that with some back stitching, and I think it turned out beautifully. I did also make a couple mistakes up here. I kind of just got off with one of these sides with some of the flowers, so there was no point in frogging that. You would never know. So I just played with it and just kind of added whatever I thought made sense. So yeah. I finished this one in the same way that Barbie did for her model. So I actually found the same frame and everything. I used the same rickrack, which is that green border. This is the first time I've ever done anything like that. And I will say there's a couple of spots that leave a little bit to be desired, but that's how you learn. I used a green acrylic paint to paint the background of this frame. It was just like this, but it had a mass-produced picture of a vase on here, and so I just painted over it with the green paint like she did, and then I just used my mounting tape to put that on there in the middle, and that's that. So I'm really happy with this. I think it is just beautiful. Okay, I have one more little finished cross stitch to show you. It's so cute. I'm gonna try not to get the glare, but sorry if that is a little annoying. But this is a cute little sampler piece. The designer is Stitch Sprout, and okay, here, how can I hold this? Okay, there we go. The designer is Stitch Sprout, and this is called the Cottagecore sampler. This was from the Cottagecore box that Starlight Stitchery did a couple of months ago. It came with a pattern booklet that's full of patterns that I just love, and so I went ahead, and this is the first one that I've stitched out of that book. I couldn't not. It's so cute. It was so much fun to stitch. It was a very quick project, and I just love it. So it's already framed and everything. It's a very cheap little frame, and this is actually acrylic or plastic, so it's not glass, and I think that's part of why it's glaring so badly, but I'm really happy with this. And again, it's like, if this could easily fit in here, but I think I'm going to take this one home. We'll see. But it's too precious. So there's a couple of flowers, there's a pear, a bee. I love this Dutch oven with the mushrooms on it. Of course, we have a couple of strawberries, a little bullfrog, a snail, this gorgeous teapot with the steam, and this duck or goose, which is just too cute. And then a letter and a pencil, and then this hat, which I recently got a hat almost identical to this. I thrifted it. I've been wearing it a lot. So yeah, I just think it's perfect. I stitched this on 16 count Aida. Again, this is Picture This Plus. Yeah, I just totally love it. I love cross stitch. It's the best. So that is my other little finished object, the Cottagecore sampler. Okay, so other than the spinning that I've been doing, I'm looking at the finished yarn that I have. It's over there. I'm not going to grab it just for the sake of time. I'll show it next time. But other than that, I think that's all my finished objects. So let's move on to my works in progress. So again, I have knitting and I have cross stitch to show you. I've only put a little bit of work into my crochet quilt blanket, so I won't be showing that today, but I will show you these other projects. I've got 2 new cast-ons, and that's pretty much it. So let's look at those. So my first whip, this is a new cast-on. This is something I've been looking forward to making. I got this yarn at Woolen Folk last year from the Wandering Flock. That was the highlight of that whole debacle, was I got my hands on this yarn that I really wanted. This is the Wandering Flock. The colorway is Hundreds and Thousands, which is Australian for sprinkles. I guess Geraldine, who's the dyer founder of that company, I think she studied abroad in Australia or something like that. I remember when they were releasing this colorway, she told the story of how it came to be, and that's how I learned what Hundreds of Thousands are. I think it's cute. So this colorway is based on sprinkles. And I just think it's the most beautiful, subtly neon speckled yarn. So the base of it is like this blushy, pinky lavender. And then we've got these neon speckles, but they're a bit muted. And so it's just beautiful. So the pattern that I'm knitting is called Neon Nectar by Woolen Pine Designs. And it's really beautiful. It looks a little bit odd right now because of all of the things going on. But this is a really easy and fast project so far. This is DK weight, so it's knitting up very quickly. I haven't knit with DK in a while. So you start with a provisional cast on for each of the shoulders, which is what's going on here with this scrap yarn. And so now I just need to knit this is the front of the sweater. I just need to knit, oh, actually, I think I'm ready to pick up. So the next thing I need to do is put these stitches back on the needles and knit the back piece and then join in the round. And then I'll get to just joining the round and no more knitting flat. But it's really pretty. So I'm trying to show it to you, but it's curling up on itself because of the nature of the fabric right now. But it's just so gorgeous. There's this beautiful textured design that runs down the shoulder and down the side. I did make a mistake actually when I was knitting this, but thankfully you can't really tell. You can a little bit, but once I block it, I think it's really not going to make a difference. And once it's laying on my body and it's kind of stretching, again, I don't think it'll matter. But in this, I thought that this was a rib design with knits and purls. And it wasn't until I got to the next step that I realized on the right side of the fabric, it said to slip the stitch and not knit it. So I should have been doing slip stitches. And I would say it's way more apparent on the camera than it is in person. You can definitely tell where I started to slip them. So yeah, I did make that mistake. I decided not to rip it out because I tested a few rows with the correct stitch pattern, and I realized you really couldn't tell a difference. If anything, it's kind of a cool effect, like as though it's sort of blooming. But again, once it's bloomed, I guess kind of. Once it's blocked, I don't think it's going to be as noticeable. But it's really pretty, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Of course, I'll have to pick up the neckline and knit that, which is my least favorite part of a project. It's not difficult, it's just getting it to look neat. I don't know, I'm getting better. This pattern that I knit, you had to pick up for the neckline, and really I think it looks quite nice. So it'll be okay. It's gonna be okay. So that's my Neon Nectar. My next work in progress, again, this is another new cast on. It's in my Knitting Nelly project bag that I love so much. Here's the back. This is Miserina by Caitlin Hunter, which is a gorgeous t-shirt pattern. I've been wanting to make this for quite a while. And so I actually ordered the yarn from this a few months ago. I purchased yarn from the Explore Knits and Fibers monochrome collection. And I think I was one of the last people to get my yarn, but it did finally come in. So I was able to cast on. So this is my main color. This is the colorway from Explore Knits. I got 2 skeins of it, and the colorway is called Muckross. It's beautiful. It is definitely a goldy green kind of colorway. It's so pretty. I don't know if it's going to be the most flattering colorway for me to wear, but it makes me happy, so I'm going to love it and wear it anyway. And then my contrast color, the contrast color that I originally purchased in this collection to be my color work for this pattern, once I got the yarns in person, I realized it wasn't going to work. It could have. This is the colorway I was thinking I would use for the color work, but it would have been very low contrast, and that's not really what I wanted. This would have been really moody and very pretty. I was hoping for like a green and pink sort of combination, but again, so I took a black and white photo of this. I felt like the contrast was so low, it wasn't really worth my time to make the beautiful colorwork motif that this t-shirt design features. So I decided to forego this one. This is for another project, and I wanted to use something from Stash. I'm not entirely sold on the colorway that I picked, but it is very high contrast to this main color, so it's going to be lovely. I think it's just going to be a little less feminine looking than I was originally planning with that pink and green sort of mindset. It's going to be a little bit more, well, just a little less feminine, I think. But I think what will balance that out is the lace in the yoke, and then the color work is like a floral design. So I'm hoping it'll all come together nicely. I really didn't want to dye or buy any kind of other yarn to use for this color work, since it only uses maybe half of a skein, probably less. Plus, this is a 2-ply yarn, and I wanted to use a 2-ply yarn for the color work, just to have all the fabric be similar. So anyway, I picked this one out of my stash. This was from the Treehouse Knits spring, it was like a mystery spring fade kit from last year, and I hadn't used any of the yarns yet, but they were 2-ply and same yarn base. I just thought this one would work because, again, it's that very high contrast. So the colorwork design will come across really nicely. This one is called Spring Equinox. And so to the design, I've actually had to knit this twice. And my yarn just rolled away across the floor. I've had to knit this twice. I got to about maybe almost halfway done with the yoke chart, so all the color work and the lace and everything. And we were on a quick little road trip to my parents' house. My husband drove in the morning so that I could knit, and I drove at night. And all of the knitting that I did in the car was pretty much wasted, because when we were about 20 minutes from our destination, I realized that I made a mistake. So the chart for this has, the column of color work, and, usually that kind of, it grows in width as you add increases as the yoke grows. I was zoomed in on my iPad for the chart. I did not notice that there was a second chart directly next to it for all of these little cable columns that go in between the colorwork motifs. So I was missing a ton of stitches. I wasn't doing any of the cabling. I forgot the t-shirt had cables. So I was just doing colorwork, and all of my colorwork was very close together, which I remember thinking, oh, this is kind of nice because I'm not having to catch any floats. It's just so fast, and look at that. So yeah, then I realized when I accidentally slid the screen over and saw the second chart, and I fell apart a little bit on the inside. But I just calmly in the car ripped it all out to where the short rows kind of stopped, and picked up my stitches and just went back with it. So we're good. We're good. I've finished the lace chart again. I love this so much. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I'm going to have to make, I think, a number of these. So I'm back on the color work pattern. I'm only 2 rows in, whereas before I had so much done. But anyway, all that that just means I get to knit it again. And this is truly a joyful project. The feeling of it, everything about it is so nice. So I'm happy to do it. I have this beautiful little stitch marker. My friend Marquita gave this to me. It's a little fern frond. I think it matches. So this is maybe my most fun project right now, knitting wise. I just love it, and I love seeing it come to life. It's absolutely stunning. So I'm enjoying this one very much. Okay, now I'll show you sort of a simple whip in comparison to the others. I have a few more after this. So last time around, I showed you this finished sock that I made, and I've just cast on for the second one. So I'm knitting this one very slowly. I just haven't had a lot of time to knit through this cuff. Once I do, and I'm just in the stockinette, and I'm not managing 2 colorways, this will be very, very fast knitting. But I just am so in love with this sock. I keep putting on the one sock and like admiring it and thinking this is one of the most beautiful socks I've ever knit. So I'm really looking forward to having these done. I love the yarns. This isn't blocked yet, but yeah, I love the yarns. It's so pretty. I'm just doing a 2x2 ribbed cuff with a cute little stripe pattern. I'm about to finish the second stripe here, and then I can break that yarn. And so I've almost got the cuff done, and then just stockinette, heel flap and gusset. Very simple, nothing to it. I just wanted to play with the colors with this one. So I'm using a combination of Knit Picks yarns. These are the Stroll, these are Stroll from Knit Picks. And then this is my Moon River colorway on my BFL nylon base. So this is Paper Crane Yarns. I'm using that for the cuff and the toe. And then for my main color, this is a Yarnaceous Fibers colorway. This was from Maggie's Paleo Botany Club last year. So that's my palette, and I'm just having fun with it. So I guess that is technically my summer sock camp project right now, since I cast it on just a few days ago. My other goal for summer sock camp, these past few years of knitting, I have never really gotten to participate in summer sock camp because inevitably summer is really busy for the shop. So just in terms of production. Anyway, my other goal is to knit my second summer Stardew Valley sock. So Oakwood Knits, Kim, she has designed beautiful patterns based on all of the seasons in Stardew Valley. And last year I knit the spring socks, and I knit one summer sock. And this year I'm going to cast on and knit my second summer sock. I'm going to probably cast that on in a couple of days and get that one done. Okay, one more knitting whip, and then I'll show you my cross stitch whips. So I have this in this tiny little bag. I got this on Etsy. It's very cute, but it's holding a mighty project. So disclaimer for my best friend, Kira, if you happen to be watching this, please turn this off. I'm knitting a gift. This is a wedding shawl for my best friend, Kira. She's getting married in November. I'm one of her maid of honors. And so I am surprising her with what I hope will be a very precious gift to her. And I'm happy to say that I'm almost done. I'm 12 rows plus the bind off away from being done. And this project has been very intense. So since I last showed it, I finished the charts that I was on. I'm now on the last chart. I'm just a couple rows into it. There are hundreds of stitches per row, so even though it's only 12 more rows, it's quite a few stitches. It's all lace work, lace and cables. But it is absolutely stunning. I'm very excited to gift this to her. Wow, I'm going to get a little bit emotional. My whole idea with making her a wedding shawl was, I think, one of the most important, as a married person, I think, in my 5 years almost of marriage, I think one of the most important attributes you can bring to marriage is warmth. I think if you can approach your spouse with warmth in, you know, whenever possible, that's going to get the best results. Like in terms of, I don't know, if there's love, if there's conflict, whenever you can bring warmth to a situation, I think that makes all the difference. Easier said than done. But yeah, so I want to kind of inspire her with this sort of warm wrap to just remember to bring warmth to her marriage. So yeah, that's kind of my inspiration for making this for her. This pattern is called Lace Eater Mashup by Mary Ann Mace, I believe. It's really beautiful. I've been wanting to make this for her for a long time. Well before she got engaged, I was planning on making this for her. I bought the yarn before she got engaged. I didn't cast on until she was engaged. You know, I was good, but as soon as she was engaged, I cast on. So my goal is to get this completely done in June, and that way I'm no longer concerned with it not being done. Again, the wedding's not until November, so I have plenty of time, but with SAF coming up and just all kinds of stuff coming up, I don't want to be scrambling and not having this finished in time. So I'm going to get this done in June, hopefully within the next week or two. That's my goal. We'll see. I would like to go ahead and gift it to her and make it a very special little event. As I've said when I've shown this previously, I don't expect her to wear this when she gets married. If she wants to, then I will be super honored and thrilled, but there's no expectation from me because, you know, as a bride, she deserves to have whatever she is envisioning for herself. So I'm not trying to add anything to her. So but I wanted her to have something bridal to keep and have her remember like my love for her, and as she goes into this marriage and builds her family and life with her soon-to-be husband. I'm just so happy for them, and I can kind of pray for them while I'm knitting this and just thinking about them. So this yarn is so beautiful to work with too. This is Malabrigo Silk Paca, so it's a silk and alpaca yarn. It's very, very soft. There's a little bit of sheen to it. It's just lovely. It's a lace weight yarn, so that's a contributing factor to this taking a while. But yeah. Only other thing, I did just a few days ago decide to order a pair of Haya sharps. My favorite types of knitting needles are Chao-Gu. That's what I carry here in my shop. But before I started knitting with Chao-Gu and carrying Chao-Gu, I had Haya needles, which I love, but I don't like their cables as much. And I found that I am very good at warping the needle. It was really fun to put on these new size 5. I think this is a US 5 needle. It was fun to put this on because my other one was completely bowed from how aggressively I knit. So the whole needle was it was like a frown. It was very sad. So now I have a nice straight needle. I wanted to get the sharps because with this being all lace work and lace weight yarn, even with the higher, like the regular ones, which are kind of sharp, it was getting harder to really get into the stitch. So this is kind of helping. It's still not quite as sharp as I wish it was, but it's definitely helping. Okay, so that's that. I think this will definitely be done by next time. So I'll get to block it out and see all of that lace open up and come to life. So I'm very excited to share that. And then I'm going to wrap it up in a beautiful white box, and I'm going to put a letter in there for Kira and maybe take her to lunch or something and gift it to her. So I'm just waiting for that day. Okay, I have 2 cross-stitch projects to show you. We'll start with my, this is the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. This is their Arctic Animals Stitch Along. This is a mystery stitch along that started in May. And we're still on Clue 1, but Clue 2 is about to come out. I made this little project bag that it's in. It's all puffins and Arctic animal inspired. So yeah, I just love it. So I'm almost done with Clue 1. I've been kind of taking it slow. They gave us a lot of time to stitch through this. And we've got this nice big cut. I got the 16 count Aida. This is Picture This Plus. The colorway is Nocturne. I absolutely love Picture This Plus Aida. It's very soft and very easy to stitch. So I'm super happy with this. Now, I'll kind of zoom in and show you in a minute, but I have to say, I left myself a huge margin over here accidentally. And I didn't realize that until a couple of nights ago when I was stitching on it. And I got really concerned that I was not going to have enough space to stitch the other half of the chart. But thankfully, they did include measurements. And so I know how many inches wide the finished piece will be. And thankfully, I have plenty of margin. So even though it's not centered, I do still have lots of margin to stitch the whole chart, which is a huge relief because I did not want to frog this. And I'm glad that they gave such a generous cut for the fabric. So here is what I have so far. It's completely adorable. Trying to get it to focus. So this is sort of like an almanac pattern where we're going to have all these different sections of animals that you would find in the Arctic. And then here, so that above all of the different types of animals, there will be a little box where you stitch in the name of the animal. So I just stitched my box, and now I need to go in with back stitching and put in the name of this. These little voles is what they're called, which I had never heard of. So this taught me something already. And then this is an Arctic fox. So I'll be stitching that in a box as well. So all I'm really missing now from here is there's one more Arctic fox that's right here that's attempting to eat this vole. That's why he looks shocked. Super cute. And then I need to backstitch in the names of the animals, and then I'll be done. So I'm going to focus on that in the next few days. I just want to get it done before the next clue comes out, which I think is on the 13th. I have this precious needle minder that was part of this collection. It's a puffin with one of the pumpkins, and so cute. This is my floss drop, which I love. This came with the kit, this little card, and then I took a hole punch, and I was able to put all of my flosses in. There's constellations on the back. This is just all so amazing. And this whole color palette, everything about this project is so happy. So that's my progress on that guy. I'm so excited about this project. It's been everything I hoped for. And then one more cross stitch to show you. I have plenty of things I'm planning on starting in the next few days, but I think this is the only other one that I have active that I'm working on. I still have my unicorn stitch on the linen, but I haven't picked that one up since I last recorded. So this is another project bag that I made. I love it. I think it's amazing. It's all bugs. And I think it's suitable for the project that I have in here. So Fallout is a game I've been playing since, I think 2008. I was pretty young when I started playing Fallout. I started with Fallout 3. I started playing it the year that it came out, which I think was 2008. Anyway, I've been playing Fallout for many years. And then the show just came out, and I had already been kind of feeling inspired to do something Fallout related. And then when the show came out, I just was super excited about it. So I found a Fallout themed cross stitch pattern, and that's what I'm stitching. So it's a little, there's not much to see yet, but it is a sampler piece. So it's all going to be monochromatic. So I'm using this color of DMC. I'm doing 2 strands of the DMC floss. This is again I believe this is a 16 count Aida. This one's from Forbidden Fiber Co. And the colorway is Evening Mauve. And coincidentally, my floss color is basically the same color as what she used to do the surged edge. So I'm glad that I used a color that she saw working for this, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is a rad roach. So this is going to have rad roaches going all the way around. There's some really fun stuff coming in this chart. So I'm excited to pick this one up. The only thing is the monochromatic, it's a little bit boring to stitch, but this is a very detailed pattern, so that keeps me interested for sure. Really being mindful of where I'm at in the pattern, and I'm excited to have this one done. I wanted to have it in really kind of pretty colors because I do plan on framing this and putting it on my wall, but it's going to have, Fallout themed motifs. So it's like if you glance at it, I want it to be pretty, with these colors, but then when you look at it and you realize what it is, it's kind of cool. So that's my Fallout cross stitch project. Okay, I do believe that's all of the works in progress that I brought to show. So I only have one more thing I'm going to show. And these are the rest of the yarns that I got from 2 pre-order yarn updates that I did many months ago that finally came in. So I have yarns here from Explorer Knits from their monochrome collection, and Fuzzy Peach Fibers from their Joshua Tree collection. So for months I have been waiting because I over the course of 3 different dyers pre-orders, I was picking out yarns to knit the Heirloom Quilt Cardigan by Catherine Seeberger. And I finally have all the yarn, and in person they are so beautiful, so I'm excited. Now I can finally start on my Heirloom Quilt Cardigan. I can't wait. I think when you see my color palette, you will also be delighted. Okay. These are a mixture of dyers. These are all of the yarns that I have. We'll kind of talk through them. So from Explorer Knits, I showed you the Muck Ross colorway I got for my Miserina. And then for the Heirloom Quilt Cardi, I got Forest Floor, which is a beautiful dark green. And then this one is Nutcracker. And this one I got 3 skeins of because I plan on using this for sort of my main color, the colorway that is kind of the running theme through the whole cardigan. So this will be my sleeves. So I needed enough of this. And the rest of these I just got 1 skein of so that I can make all of my little knitted quilt blocks for the cardigan. And so then this one I showed you guys a couple of months ago. This was from the Treehouse Knits office collection. It's called Nard Dog, and it's this beautiful rich brown color. I know this looks like low contrast right now, but I'm going to be using the lighter colors to break up the darker shades so that there's not really a lot of interaction here. Okay, so then from Fuzzy Peach Fibers, I got, this one is, there's a sticker over the yarn label, Manzanita. It's one of my favorite colors this year. And then we have Sunbaked. And this one is Creme de Peach. Creme de Peach, I'm gonna say. So very warm, sort of romantic colors, but earthy. And yeah, I think this is going to be a really beautiful piece in my wardrobe. So there we go. Now I can get started on that. And finally, I have 3 skeins of Senna from Fuzzy Peach Fibers. And it's somewhere in between a bright yellow with a hint of green. Super pretty. I love how vibrant it is. It would look really pretty with this slipover. I'm going to make the LYS, which is a cardigan by Andrea Mowry. I think it stands for Little Yellow Sweater. I've been really looking forward to making that cardigan, especially in this bright yellow. So this is going to be a very fun knit for me. Okay, friends, that's everything that I have to show. I managed to make this one shorter and I showed quite a few things, so that's excellent. If you have questions about anything that I talked about, please feel free to leave them below. I know that I am very slow at responding to YouTube comments, but I do read all of them. And sometimes people leave a comment, and then if I don't get back to them right away, they message me on Instagram, which is fantastic. Like if you have a question, reach out to me maybe through Instagram if you need a quicker response, because yeah, my phone just doesn't give me the notifications when people comment on YouTube. So I miss everything until I sit down and open it and I see everything all at once. And then I usually respond to everything all at once. But anyway, I do love to read all of your sweet comments. And if I could figure out how to get my phone to notify me, then I would be much better at responding. But yeah, so let me know what you are up to. I do know that some of you have been really hoping for a garden tour, and I would love to do a garden tour, but it's been really hard to have the time to film at all right now with all of the production work that I'm doing. But also, spring happens very quickly in Alabama. So whereas we have a very long growing season and our spring starts early, and this year we've had a beautiful spring, it also fades away pretty quickly and summer comes in fast. So a lot of the blooms, like all the roses and everything that I've been sharing with you guys, those have already finished up with their first flush. So there's not as many flowers and things to look at in the garden right now. I mean, the garden is very lush, but I don't know how entertaining it would be with kind of fewer blooms. But I'm hoping that when we get the second flush, because inevitably everything will bloom again this year, maybe I'll get to still do a little video. But if not, I do like to take little snippets of the garden and I insert them here in these videos. So I hope that you at least enjoy those. I am reading a book right now. I've been reading the Throne of Glass series very slowly, but I'm on book 4 right now, whichever one that is. And I loved book 3. So I know a lot of people have such varying opinions about the different books. I loved book 3. I love the slow burn, high action books. I'm a very like sci-fi, fantasy, action-oriented person. So I like for there to be a lot going on. I like that there's the romance element, but it is kind of the thing where I want it to sort of be more in the background. And I thought that book 3 was fun because it was a very heavy, it took up a heavy portion, I think, of that novel, but it was such a slow burn, that whole relationship. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. I like how it was not rushed. There was elements of like suspense with that relationship. So that was really enjoyable. And there was a lot of action and stuff going on. So I loved that book. I'm on book 4. I haven't read it in a few weeks now, but definitely enjoying it. I'm also reading a book that is sort of atypical for me. It's called Tom Lake. I don't know the author, but it's really interesting. It's just a sort of a fiction novel. This one's kind of a generational sort of look, and it's a beautiful story so far. I really enjoy it. There's no action, no sci-fi, no fantasy. It's very, I don't know. It's got a lot of basically it is a woman who is sort of recalling her younger years, her young adult years to her adult children when and she's recalling her time as an actress, and then and she's kind of talking about her time spent at a place called Tom Lake, where she had a relationship with a person who was in a production with her, and he ended up becoming like a famous actor, and she sort of put all of that behind her to go and have a family, and she has a cherry farm with her husband, and so the story is interesting because it's this mother telling her adult daughters about her time, about those younger days. And you kind of get to know the daughters through her storytelling because of the way that each of them reacts to hearing these stories from their mom. And she kind of talks about when they were younger and they first learned that she had dated this famous actor because their dad actually was the one who said it. They were perplexed. They were intrigued, excited. One of them thought maybe that was their real father, and so there was like this sort of rebellious teenager stuff going on. And it's an interesting novel. It's got all these generational elements, but the way that it's framed, the kind of storytelling, it's really beautiful. So I've been enjoying that. I really like the writing style. It's been really hard for me to get into books recently, and I think it's because I don't have a lot of time to just sit and read. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. But I do miss reading. My favorite author is Haruki Murakami, and I haven't gotten to read a Murakami in a while. So I'm craving books, and I just want to sit in the garden and read and knit something simple. But I just haven't been able to make the time. So anyway, Tom Lake, really lovely book. I think a lot of you would enjoy it. So maybe look into that. Okay, so that's where I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you stopping in to kind of hang out with me today, and I hope that you enjoyed it, and I encourage you to let me know what you think about the projects, and I hope that I've inspired some of you to sort of, I don't know, create mindfully and Again, don't forget to join our Botanical Makealong if you are so interested, and be sure to tag me in your projects so that I don't miss them. I hope to see some of you this weekend, and if not this weekend, maybe it's SAF, or here at the shop. Lots of you come and visit me at the shop, so yeah, let's connect. All right, I hope that you all have a lovely rest of your day, and thanks for stopping in. Bye.
Was a bead.